Yeah, I was like, I'll take Teddy out for a this rare nose so you can just let everybody know. Take Ted out for a long walk, let him frolic in the park because he actually. Hey cousins, welcome back to Life Coaching with me. Today has been a day, y'all. Whenever you about to get like your life about to start like aligning with, that mentality, stuff starts to life starts to life. So anywho, so today has been a day for me, an absolute day. Y'all got my nails on yesterday by my baby. Anywho, but yeah, so today I'm gonna speak about letting go. Okay. I've spoke about this a couple times, but it's in like old stuff. Never being a child or an adult child who's lost both her parents. Okay. So I believe whenever I believe whenever a situation occurs, whenever something is consistent with disrespect, you have to learn when letting go is best for you and yours, okay? You have to believe when it's time to move on, it's time to move on. Because for me, I stayed in the same situations for years because every time God gave me the ability to move on, I chose not to. I picked the opposite direction and I would go through the same karmatic cycle. I would go through the same cycle over and over and over. And that would be my fault because I would choose to stay in the same situation, knowing that God has gave me a way out, knowing that God has released me, knowing that God has said, here, you're ready to move on. You're ready to go here. And I wouldn't. Because I lived in the past and I kept assuming that everything would return back to what it used to be. And so I would stay in the same situation. I would stay in the same karmatic circle and cycle for years, just sitting there waiting for things to go back to what they no longer could go back to. Even if things felt like it was back there, nothing would ever be the same again. It would never be the same again because too much had happened. Except I didn't see that. I stayed in that same karmatic cycle thinking that everything will turn back to normal and all I had to do was wait. All I have to do was wait. Do you know how many opportunities in life that I have missed out on in the last couple of years because I'm sitting in the same cycle? You know how many people, how many things that I have missed out on because I refuse to realize what is really happening, refuse to wake the fuck up and move on? Mind you, there has been so much that if I would have just listened to what God was showing me, I would have by now. I would already have my own home. I would already been in my career-based jobs, like all of those things. But because I decided that I was going to be mentally weak, because that's what I considered it. It's not always mental weak. I'm not saying that you're slow, not saying you're a weak person, but at times your mental is not there enough to choose your discernment. You don't pay attention to your discernment. You want to live in that moment. And I'm telling you, it's been times where I have met people and because I didn't move on or because I stayed around the same stuff or the same people, they stopped talking to me. Wouldn't deal with me at all. And these are people that I needed to level up in life. They didn't want nothing to do with me because I stayed around the same people. They were like, oh no, we're good. Wouldn't answer my phone calls, wouldn't deal with me. I couldn't get certain jobs. I couldn't do certain things. And it's because I stayed around the same cycles. And I'm going to say this to you. When you finally see it and you finally are at that point where you're trying to move on and you're trying to level up and you're trying to better yourself, some things, even people, are going to make you feel like that's the wrong move. Like you're doing something wrong. Like you are doing something wrong for choosing yourself. You're doing something wrong for saying, okay, this is not going to work out. It's the same stuff repeatedly. And I'm tired of going through the same circles. You know, I'm tired of the same outcome every year after year. I'm just going to move on and move out the way of that karmatic cycle because I don't want it anymore. Like, I no longer want that. I no longer want to be involved. I no longer care to sit there or stand there or be in that karmatic cycle. And once you do that, it's going to feel like you're being wrong, but you're not. You're not being wrong. Like, if it's the same stuff, consistently, the same stuff, the same things, the same over and over and over. Like, 1 minute it seems good and the next minute it's boom. 1 minute it seems good, the next minute is boom. 1 minute it seems good, the next minute is boom. It's because it's never going to change, because that's what you have accepted and that's how people see you. So it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be the same thing. It's going to be the same thing until you decide this is enough. I am done. I don't want to do this anymore, and it's time for me to move on. And it's going to be, you're going to feel like, okay, well, you know what? Especially if it's dealing with people involved. And these people are people that you've always had. And when you finally decide, okay, I'm going to move on, you're going to feel like, okay, maybe I might be alone. No, you don't. You pick your people and you move on with those people. You pick the people that don't make you feel the same. You pick the people that don't continue to put you in that same karmatic cycle, and those are the people you move on with. Like, I'm not saying cut people off when you're trying to move on. I'm not saying stay, like be like, oh, I don't want to be with nobody and you're alone. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying when it's time to move on from something, it's time to move on. And if you keep staying around the same stuff, it's going to be the same shit every year. The same craziness, the same drama, because you cannot catch blessings. You cannot catch something new because you chose to stay in the same situation for years. And this is something that I know wholeheartedly. If you stay in the same situation over and over, you keep forgiving people that keep bringing you the same type of drama. You keep forgiving people that try to hurt you. You keep forgiving situations. You keep seeing a situation, and instead of you saying, oh, let me get out of here, you go right into it. You see what's about to happen. You see a toxic surrounding. You see a negative environment, but you sit right in it anyway. That's crazy. That is crazy. That means you like the drama. That means you like being around that. And if you don't like being around that, then you remove yourself and you move on. You move on. Like, letting go of the past sucks. I'm going to tell you right now, for me, it did. For me, letting go of the past has been the most hurtful thing in the world to me. But it's time to move on. Like, that's even me in my career. Girl, I'm so far past the CNA. I got so many other licenses, but I keep doing the same work because it's the easiest for me to get hired, and I always need quick, fast money. And this time, everyone's like, well, you're not really working. Well, I didn't apply it at 5 different places, but due to me having a broken hand, I'm having drama. Guess what? That's God saying, find something new. Evolve. So that's what I'm working on. That's what I'm working on. He said, you got the time. You got the ability. Do it. So, it's like, and that's so, with me saying this, I'm telling you, just because I'm speaking on moving on does not mean I'm just speaking on people. I'm speaking on situations. I'm speaking on careers. I'm speaking on so much. I've been the same size forever. I have a healthy group and everything, and I'm still not losing my weight. You know why? Because I lose this weight, I start back eating, I give up, I lose the same karmatic cycle. When it's time to move on, it's time to move on, honey. And that means any and everything that does not suit your needs. If you've been through the same stuff over and over and over, when is it going to change? You have to pick one day and be like, okay, I'm done. Like, I'm done with this. I gotta change. I gotta move on. It comes to a point where you don't have a choice. You're gonna have to pick one day. You're gonna have to it's time to move on. And when you move on, you got to move on from everything. Pretty much all of it. And it will hurt. It will hurt. I'm going to tell you right now. You're going to be... Anywho, so, for me, letting go of the past mean I would let somebody in my past win. Like, if I let go of my friends, if I moved out of my city, if I gave up my family, then it was like more of like, I let this person have all of me. I let them take everything from me. And I fought against it. I fought against letting go. I stayed in that karmatic cycle because I was like, this person's not going to take mine. This is my family. These are my friends. This is my city. And I stayed, and then I had to think about it. sometimes in a curse, there are also blessings that occur. If these people were mine, then that person would have never been able to, what the crap? That person would have never been able to do that. That person would have never been able to play like that. You know, that person would have never been able to reconnect us. So this is something that I needed to remove myself from. This is something I need to get away from too. I need to move on. It was time for me to move on. And I'm in that process of moving on. I'm in that process of realizing that things are not the same and they never will be. And I have to let go. I have to let go of the past. I have to let go of how I see my city. You know, I have to let go of how I see the place that I'm birthed in, because it's not the same anymore. I have to let go of how I see Oklahoma City. I have to let go of how I see my family, because it's not the same anymore. I have to let go of how I see my friends, because they're not the same anymore. And I have to let go of how I see myself, because I'm not the same anymore. And then back in the day, I used to be kind of like hood. I would have ran up and fought you in a second if you talked that shit. Now, I'd be embarrassed if I even get loud because you was talking that shit. Now, I don't want to break my nails. I don't want to put a scratch on my face. I don't want my kids to see me getting into fights. I don't want my kids to jump in. I don't want my daughter to ever have a video of her fighting anyone. I don't want my kids around shit ghetto. Like, I want them to live in elegance. I want them to live like they live in the Black Hamptons, you know? So it's like, back in the day, it was different for me. I am not the same. So it's time for me to move on. I don't want to argue with you because it makes me look bad. I don't want to fight with you because I know I can fight, so I don't have anything to prove. Fighting with you just gives you a platform to use my name. I don't want to do it. So I'm in that space now where it's like, oh, I'm moving on. Like, some people are like, oh, she being weird. No, I'm just moving on. Just moving on. Not being weird, not acting funny, just finally saying I'm not going to do this karmatic cycle anymore. I'm done. No more. You can have it. If that's what y'all want, go get it. I don't care to fight to stay. You know, I don't care to fight for my spot. I don't care to fight anymore. And it feels really good to say, I'm moving on. And so if you're out there and you don't know what's going on, it's because you could be living in your past. You could be feeling stuck. And once you feel stuck in your past, it's hard for you to just go about your business, you know, because you're going to keep going through the same karmatic cycle because you feel like this is where you belong. When you feel anxious, you feel nervous because you're not supposed to be there anymore. That's my life coaching for you guys. When you feel like something's not right, you feel uneasy around things that you used to feel comfortable around, it's time to move on. Bye, guys.